Priya. I'm part of SAP Ariba Solution Management Regional Innovation Group team. So I work on the innovations and also the strategic customer escalations. So on this topic, like I'm working with Mukesh, so which is a special interest group for our Indus customers. So we have monthly webinars on different topics across products. So today we will be having Vipin from the innovation team, and he's going to drive a topic on paperless procurement and material movement. So I'll pass it on to Vipin for his introduction. Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you, Priya. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vipin Gandhi, and I lead the innovation and the advisory piece for SAP India. I am. It is also pertinent to give you my a little bit of my history as far as the profession is concerned. So I was the global CIO for Welspun Limited. Welspun is into towels and large diameter pipes, and which is where a large part of the digital journey I traversed and learned during my 5 year stint as the global CIO. Some parts of what you see here are also some things that we have deployed there. Shall I continue, or should we wait for more people, or what?
I think we should maybe do a quick round of introduction of people who are in the call, so that you also have some context, and then get started. We have Shravan join us as well. So maybe Amit, if I can ask you to quickly introduce yourself, which company you're from, so that Vipin has some.
Yeah. Hi Vipin. Hi everybody. I'm Amit. I am working in a company called Centrient Pharmaceuticals Limited. So the company is basically acquired by a private equity, Bain Capital Limited, recently. So I am working in a capacity of service delivery lead and SAP solution architect for the company. Yeah. And before I've been working with this company for 8 years. Before that, I was working with Accenture. PwC, and Deloitte for a long period of time, around 10 years, as in a capacity of SAP lead for those companies. Yeah, implementation leads.
Okay, thanks, Amit. Deepak, if I can ask you to quickly introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi Mukesh and everyone. I'm from Ashapura Group. I'm managing SAP landscape for Ashapura, which involves all our major entities, mining as well as manufacturing. And I'm based out of Mumbai. So currently, as we are unlocked office.
Thanks, Deepak. Mukesh, if I can ask you to introduce yourself quickly, unmute and introduce yourself. Mukesh Goyal, I mean. So I can ask, okay. So maybe Shravan, if I can ask you to introduce yourself while Mukesh is able to unmute.
Hi, I'm Shravan, and I'm working for Future Group. We're into the retail and fashion food segment. I've been with the company for nearly 13 years now. So I handle the SAP demand part, the functional part. Yeah,
okay. Thank you. So maybe I'll come back to Mukesh. If you can just quickly unmute and introduce yourself. Okay, so looks like he's unable to. Maybe you can put it on chat as well, Mukesh. Meanwhile, I think Vipin, we should get started.
Yeah. So Mukesh Goyal, I think, is the person I should be thanking, at least, for bringing this topic up during the WhatsApp chat, and also Anindya, who asked for a specific discussion on guided buying. So I'll start on this journey of how we can get a paperless procurement and material movement done. So currently, we, like Deepak just mentioned, that we are all sort of coming to terms with the current situation of COVID-19, and we have been, at least for 90 days past, we have been under lockdown, depending on where we are and depending on how much we have traversed into the city. We know how difficult it has been for the past 90 days. Forget the business part of it, but the personal life part of it has been a little bit of a challenge. All of us are locked into our homes and can't move out of our. Can I request? Can I request everybody to go on mute? Mukesh, you want to introduce yourself? Please go ahead, please, and then we start. You are on mute, Mukesh. Okay, so having said that, the current situation, COVID, nobody had actually forecasted or even thought through in their wildest of dreams that we could be in such a situation in the current times. But then this has come in as a surprise, and we've had to pass through this whole phase. And I don't know how long we are going to be in that same phase. Now, in situations such as these, it becomes very, very difficult to continue with business and continue with the business in the normal pace and normal speed. So this is a completely different situation, and probably it is going to be the new normal. If it is going to be the new normal, then we will need to fine tune our processes, and we are going to talk about procurement in this session, but fine tune our processes to align with the new normal. And what is it that we need to align with this new normal and function normally, the new normally, and what is it that we need to do that is what we're going to be discussing in the current session. So people, all industries, almost everybody, depending on the scale and depending on how much interested they are in new technology, they are embarking on things like IoT, things like robotics, things like new softwares that can sort of make these activities of warehousing, procurement, supply chain become more effective, more speedier, and more efficient. Right? But then these things, which is the robotics or the IoT or the new technology platforms, etc., can only get you to speed up your SCM chain, or it can make it more reliable, or it can cut the cost. But can it possibly help us navigate the current scenario of COVID-19 or COVID-19 like scenario? That would be a very
Vipin, a couple of things. One is your video seems to have gone black. Second, Mukesh Goel says that your volume is a little less, so you might have to speak up a little bit.
Okay, I'll just hold this mic in my hand.
This is much better now. Yeah.
Better. Okay.
Yeah.
So, so the thing is, the investments that we are doing globally across the industries that is being happening in IoT or robotics or such other new investments in applications, etc., are they going to be making us capable of handling situations like COVID-19? Probably the answer is no, which is what we have seen here in this current situation. So then, what is it that can make our supply chain so flexible and so efficient that we can work in an unplanned situation as well? So while we have made ourselves efficient, cost effective in the planned situations, how do unplanned situations like COVID-19 be handled? And that is where the demand for real-time data arises. Demand for working from anywhere in the world arises. Demand for not being on the site, not being in connect with the systems, etc., but still having to make decisions efficiently, still having to make calls on the material movement or procurement, etc., arises. And this is what we are going to talk about. So most part of my discussion today will be centered around either procurement or material movement. And we'll see in this session on how we are going to make it digitally make it more digital and therefore paperless. There are some bits of paperwork that will be required because that is what is mandated by the government or the rules that we have to follow within India. So the structure of the presentation, the current slide at least, is that we are going to be talking about the procure piece, and then I've broken this procure piece up into 3 more pieces: the order piece, the inbound piece, and the receive piece. And let us see how we are going to handle or digitize these pieces. So the order further consists of raising an RFQ. Once you have raised an RFQ, you have got some quotes, etc. You have compared those quotes. Then you raise a PR for the vendor that you have selected, and this PR then converts into a PO for the vendor that you have selected. Now, what we're suggesting here, the middle line where the cursor is, the capital golden letters are all the technologies that I planned and propose to intervene so that we make it a digital initiative, a paperless initiative. And these are all SAP technologies. Whenever you have a question on any of these, please feel free to stop me. So the RFQ piece, where we are saying that we will implement an RPA, a robotic process automation, which will raise an RFQ, get the quotes from various vendors, compare those quotes, and give you, based on certain rules that you yourself decide, give you the best bidder for that particular procurement. So this RPA piece helps us in digitizing the RFQ piece. Then we come to the PR piece, which is going to be about raising a PR for the vendor that you have selected through the RFP process. Or if there is no RFP process, then you have selected using some other criteria. So I am proposing here a conversational AI, a chatbot in the normal language, where you talk to the chatbot, which could be integrated with your WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or Telegram, Viber, etc., or in a browser, and you give it commands or instructions in normal language, the language that you use day to day, to raise a PR for a certain activity, for a certain procurement. And it will ask you questions, you answer those questions in your normal language, and it creates a PR. And we'll show you a demo, a video of that demo to see how we can take this up. Once this PR is raised, then we come to the PO piece, which is again done using the conversational AI and just giving instructions in our normal language. Now, what have we achieved here? So the benefits of doing this piece or digitizing this piece is that, one, we have an automated comparison of codes where we have obviated the need of going into Excels and doing the calculations. The system does it for us, the RPA does it for us. Second is we are now using natural language rather than accessing the SAP commands, giving it T codes, etc., and then moving forward. So up next then would be ASN, which is the advanced shipment notice, then the logistics piece, the gate entry.
Vipin, before you move, I think there is a question on the chat from Amit. Is the solution live, and in what module of Ariba is it? So if you can just quickly address that as well. Yeah.
Sure. So what I'm talking about is not a module of Ariba. I'm talking about an intervention over and above the Ariba. So these solutions would lie, let's say, S4 or SAC. On top of that, what says the Ariba piece, and enveloping all of these, which means the ECC or the S4 and Ariba, and augmenting these capabilities that these two solutions provide, is what we are suggesting here. So when I go into the details, I will be talking about how we connect back to Ariba and how Ariba helps us move forward in these cases. So I'll get to the details probably a slide away from now. Just give me that much time. So then the next sequence obviously is ASN, logistics, gate entry, and GR. Once you have received the material, then you are going to be putting it away and picking it up or packing it up for use in the production process, and then you will be paying the vendor who has supplied you this material. Now let us look at how we are going to do this. So this is the slide where I've summarized. Now let us look at one by one what is it that we are going to do. So we were talking about the PRPO being raised. So here is just 1 second. So here is a video. You just watch this is connected to WhatsApp, which we can easily do. And you will see that natural language processing coming into play. So here we go. So we want to create a PR. We were given a command in create PR. So now we need to enter the purchase group. So 002 is the purchase group. Plant number is 1710. Material ID for which we need to raise the PO is TG11. Quantity that we need is only just 13. PR document type NB. So it has confirmed with you that you want to raise or change these details. Once you've said yes, it has created a PR in the system and it has given back a number to us. So let us check whether he has raised the right PR or not. In the backend, this detail is going into the S4 or ECC. So now here you see all those details. So the requisition type was NB, TG11 was the material group, 1710 was the plant, and 13 quantities is what we required. So now we will create a PO based on this PR. So it is now creating a PO again in the S4 or the ECC system, and you have now got the PO number. Let us double check whether the PO is in order or not. So here we are taking certain steps which are over and above what we should be taking, and this is just to illustrate how this thing works and how accurate or how efficient it is. So I'll hold it right here. We'll come back to this thing. We'll go again into. So now you have raised the PR, right? And let us see how we are going to digitize the incoming incoming material. So you have a PR generated. You have now a PO generated, and then this PO has been transferred by mail to the manufacturing location or the vendor that you're talking about. He does whatever is required, either only just assembles or manufactures, and then he's now ready to ship the material to you. When he's ready to ship the material to you, he is a registered vendor in your Ariba application, and therefore he creates an ASN, a advanced shipment notice using Ariba. When he does that, he is given an option to create barcodes for the material that he's trying to ship. So while in the remaining SN, he gives the details of what PO against what PO is this material is coming in, how much quantity of each line item, etc. He is then given the option to generate those QR codes depending on how many handling units he is going to be shipping or transferring using a truck. So once he activates this link, he will be given the number of barcodes or QR codes which are equal to the number of handling units he has entered. So which means that we have one QR code for every single handling unit. This handling unit could be a carton, it could be a pellet, or it could be individual packings of whatever he is sending. Okay, so each of these QR is then pasted on each of these single handling units. After this, the Ariba comes out with a packing list, right? A packing list which on top of the packing list has another QR code, which is a sum total or aggregation of all the material that he is trying to ship in one single truckload. It is also a combination of all the QR codes that have been printed for shipment for the transport of the material. So now, if I am now in a position to just scan this one single QR code on the packing list and get every single detail required about the transportation that is going to happen, about the movement of goods that is going to happen. I now, because it is an ASN, because we are connected with Ariba, and he has maintained these details in Ariba, you will get to see all of these details in your system at your end at the plant. Okay, so now the material has started from the manufacturer's location, and it is now to come into our location. Between the vendor's location and our location, we can obviously do telematics and find out where the truck is, how much time it is going to take. If there was a temperature that was supposed to be maintained, is it being maintained or not? But I'm skipping that piece because that may not be relevant to the discussion that we are having. However, once it arrives at our parking bay, so there might be a situation that we are not in a position to take that truck in directly because the docks are all occupied with unloading of other things, right? So what we do is we propose to give another QR code, which is actually a keychain on which a QR code is embedded or printed or etched, and we do the scanning of that packing list QR code. We link that QR code to this plastic keychain QR code that we have given to him, and we ask him to wait at a parking lot. Now you can go to the extent of saying that I will create that parking token as well, give him the parking slot, and then on a board similar to what flights airports use, I can recreate the same thing on TV. So on that screen, I will show which truck needs to come into the premises at what point in time. Now this could also be augmented by an SMS going to the driver to say that you are supposed to be at the dock at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, so please prepare accordingly. But you have come here at 9 o'clock, so you have time till 9 to 12 to freshen up or do whatever you think is right. So once he has parked and it is time for him to get into the plant, because 12 o'clock is his time to be at the dock. So what he does is, now he has that QR code keychain. He flashes that at the automatic gate, and this gate opens. Now some of these things are complete digitization, and you can pick and choose what you want to do based on the situation that you are in. It might be that you would not want to automate that gate, and you would just want the security guard to open that gate, then so be it. So here we are saying that this QR code can open that gate. Once he goes in, there is a timestamp that is maintained when he enters the plant. Now I will narrate why we are taking all of this timestamps, and we'll be taking a lot of timestamps while the truck is within the factory premises or godown premises. So we have now taken the timestamp for check-in. Next from here, it can go to a weighbridge if required, and again flash that QR code, and automatically there will be a gross weight that will happen, and this gross weight will directly be entered into the system against the PO for which this vehicle has come in with the material. Because the QR code that he's flashing has the details of the PO and vendor name, etc., it is very, very easy to link this gross weight with the entry in the ECC system or the S4 system. So a completely unmanned operation. If your premises is pretty big, you can give him a GPS device so that he knows exactly where he's supposed to go. He knows the direction, and he does not get into areas where he's not supposed to be in. But that is again an optional depending on the situation that you are in. What he should be doing mandatorily is that when he reaches the dock, he flashes that QR code again, that keychain again, in front of a QR code reader, and announces that I am here ready to unload the material, and I have come from vendor so and so with material against PO number so and so. Now the labor, the unloading staff or the unloading gang can start unloading it directly, or if they are busy with something else or they've gone for lunch, etc., they might come a little later and start unloading. Now so far we have had 3-4 timestamps: one when he came in, one when he took the weight, and third when he docked in. So anywhere in between, if we are losing time, then it is we can easily find out the reasons why we are losing that time. So coming back to the Dockin piece, if you have EWM installed, and because there are unique barcodes to every single handling unit, the unloading gang just needs to scan the QR code or the barcode on every single handling unit, and the EWM ingests this data, allocates a bin to it, and suggests that you need to put this material away in bin B12. And then therefore the only part remaining is that the bin B12 is located and the material is kept there. Other than that, the entries that are required for inward movement, etc., the 100, 101, 103, etc., is all getting done in the back end without any manual intervention, because the moment he scans the QR code on the handling unit, that data is transferred to the ECC for the inward movement. Okay. Now, once EWM is there, or even if it is not there, you unloaded the material. It is time for the truck to move out. Now he will flash that keychain again at the dock to say that I have unloaded the material. Now I'm ready to leave out. Again, he traces his steps back to the weighing scale, flashes that QR code and gets the tare weight done. And if required, a weighing slip can be issued. If not, then he just moves on, goes out at the main gate, and again flashes that QR code, which is a checkout timestamp for him. So now we have a check-in time versus a checkout time, and we know how much time he has taken in what activity within our premises. And I will come to you on why this is important and how this can actually not just make the process digitized, but also make the process efficient and save the money in the process, right? So here, when he has at the checkout, when he has flashed his keychain, the QR code on the keychain, he is now ready to pick up the documents that are required. So it could be a acceptance report, it could be a sign on the LR copy, etc., depending on what is the requirement. He can pick up all these documents and move out, exit the factory premises. Now the benefit out of this, one, we've seen we have not touched a pen or a paper, or a human being has not come in contact with the material, completely digitized except for the unloading piece, which again, depending on how much automation has been done, this could also be an automated activity, partially automated activity. Second is we have collected some timestamps. Now I will give you a practical example that I've seen. So there was one of the organization where it was taking about 24 hours on an average to turn the truck around. So check-in to check-out, it will take about 24 hours. And when this analysis was done, we found that we are actually taking 6-7 hours to unload the entire piece. So that is the optimum time required. But we are holding this truck for 24 hours, which means that we are knowingly or unknowingly, explicitly or implicitly paying that money to the truck owner for that extra time that we are using. So we turned the table around and we said that from here on, give me a quote for your trucks for 6 hours. If I spill into 7th hour, that should be free. And from the 8th hour, I will start paying you the penalty per hour for the time that I'm holding your truck back. Now, why was this confidence to say that I will give you the penalty? Because two things. One, we were any which ways paying 24 hours penalty, detention charges, because that was baked into the rates that were given to us for that contract. Second is I now have a complete handle on what is the data, where we are taking more time, and therefore most of the solvable problems or problems that can be addressed are available and visible to us, and these can easily be sorted out. So the confidence to say 7 hours you bake in that rate, 8th hour I start paying the penalty. The rates therefore drastically came down on this thing. So two main advantages I would say. One, a digitized process, no pen paper process, and two, I have saved some money in the bargain. Depending on again how much is the volume of the trucks that come into the premises, you can recover the money out in probably a few months of operations. Moving next, now that the material has come in, the vendor would be sending us an invoice for us to pay them, right? So the process normally is that the vendor sends a invoice through an email. If you are in Ariba, if Ariba has been implemented, then you'll probably get a digital invoice through the channel. So you download this digital invoice, a PDF copy, either from the mail or from the Ariba piece, and you identify what this document is all about. Is it a invoice, or is it a credit note, or is it a debit note, or something else, right? You identify this, and then you extract the information and do some fraud detections, comparisons, etc. Then you post the invoice and map it to the PO. The next step would be the payment piece. Now, this entire 6-7 step process is being done using a RPA from SAP. Now, again, I would like to show you a video where we are doing all of this activity, and I'll keep narrating this thing because there's no voice in it. I'll keep narrating what is happening here. So this is what you see on the screen is an invoice that we have sort of created so that we could train our robotic process automation bot, and I'll just start the video. Okay, so here, okay, now this is the code that we have written on the RPA bot to understand and grab the details. What is the detail that we are getting? What is the supplier address? What is the supplier invoices number? What is the invoice date? And so on and so forth. Right. So let us move forward. So we have written this information to figure out what are the details we are going to get. And now it is picking up the invoice, reading it, doing an OCR on it, and finding out the details and copying it. If you see the invoice number, the quantity number, the plant code, etc., is all the same as per the details that we had created earlier, the PRPO that we had created earlier. If you see, a lot of information here is being captured: cash discount days, company code, etc., etc. Some of it may be available, some of it may not be available, but it is reading through the entire invoice. Now, in the system, you have just these two invoices, and you will now see that a new invoice has been recorded and brought into the system. So here is this last one is the new invoice that has come in. Right? The posting date is 20th of April, and the invoice number is whatever it is. We have picked it up, right? So you will see all of this data has been captured in this code, and it is now going to get posted into the system. Okay, so we have therefore picked up the invoice, which was in a digital format. We have read the data. We have done the comparison with the PO, and we have posted it into the system. Now, when we are talking about the reading of the document invoice, there was one more problem that some of the customers highlighted, saying that I am a vendor to the government of India, and I need to go to the GEM portal, and what we have to do there is copy down, because there is no document coming in from the government. We have to copy each and every detail from the GEM portal and then input it into the system to create a PO from the government side. So we have created an application where it can go into the GEM portal, pick up the data that you want to pick up, and automatically create a document in your system. Okay, so we have requisitioned, PO has happened, we have got the material, we've digitized the material handling piece, and we have now posted the invoice, and we can make the payment also again using either the chatbot or the RPA, depending on how you want to take it forward. So the things that you have not been able to see in the video that we were showing, because these are running in the back end, is there is a three-way match happening between the purchase order, the GRN, and the invoice. Once this is okay, then there are certain rules and regulations and the fraud detection that happens. So if this was a PO for 100 pieces, and let's say there are three drops that have already happened, this fourth drop, is it in line with the PO, or is it exceeding the PO, or is there some material that is still to come in? So that thing is checked. The details between the GR and the invoice line items is checked. This also has the capability to identify if there are duplicate invoices that have come in. So it will match certain portions of the invoices and figure out if there is a duplicate invoice that has come in. And obviously, it is going to tell you if there is a quantity or a rate discrepancy. Once all of this has been taken care of, that is when the posting happens into the system. Now, we have discussed the incoming piece of it. So you have procured and you have got the material into your system. Let us talk about the movement of goods, which are finished goods or semi-finished goods for that matter. So here we are talking about the sales piece, right? So in the sales piece, you have to pick, you have to load, you have to dispatch, and you have to then track. So we have already discussed this piece, pick and pack, earlier. The loading piece also, the EWM has the capability to give you a pick list and the detailed document that is required. We have spoken about digital logistics, where we were talking about the QR code and the packing list, etc. We have container tracking that has not been discussed, right? So if you're doing domestic sales, you can track your vehicle. You can also digitize the whole movement of the goods from your place to either the distributor's place if it is a B2B, or another manufacturer who's going to use it as a raw material. So all of that piece we have discussed, and it is similar to the inbound process that we discussed. Now, if you're doing a export consignment, how will you track the container till from the time that you call for that container, it lands up in your premises, you stuff it, and then you dispatch it to the port, it gets loaded, and then it goes into on the water and then lands on the disport, and then gets emptied at the vendor end or the buyer end, right? So let us look at that. Let us look at that piece as well. So finished goods first. When we have got the finished goods ready, we start packing up the product. So we aggregate, like we were doing for the vendor. We put every single handling unit, we put use a barcode or a QR code and identify it uniquely. Then we aggregate it into a pellet, maybe if required. So smaller packs going into a pellet, and this pellet then getting into the warehouse, and then this warehouse, these pellets again being picked up from this warehouse for transportation. So far we have discussed this piece completely. Now, when you are ready to dispatch these goods out to the next station, which is your finished goods, you can scan these QR codes on each of the handling units and then create a packing list, or create a packing list, which is also a part of the documentation that you need to do for the dispatch. This packing list will ultimately result in invoice creation because it is automated process, and will print out a packing list with a unique top QR code or a barcode, which, like in the previous case, we had used from the material that was coming in. So again, you have ensured that the finished goods have been taken care of in terms of the digitization. You are not creating a paper trail, and you are moving the goods using just digital means. Next up, we will talk about that container tracking right now. Sorry, I will jump to that and then come back to this. So this is a imaginary detail that I have created. So what is happening is there is a purchase order that a buyer has raised. It goes to an agent, which is automatically generating a sales contract. The sales contract is then given to the agent. agent is then sending a PO to the vendor. This vendor, once it receives the PO, gives an import declaration, does whatever documentation is required, and then informs the liner, depending on what the contract is with the liner, who's going to order the shipping container. It informs the liner or the shipping agency to send it the containers. Once these containers have come in, they will sort of load and send it back to the port, and then there will be a BL number generated as soon as the container is loaded on the ship. Now after that, there is going to be movement on water, and let us now see this movement on water. How are we going to capture? So while the remaining pieces we are capturing because of the documents that have been generated. So there is a PO that is generated. There is a import declaration that is generated. There are some invoices and other details that are being generated. There is a BL generated, which shows that the container has been loaded on the ship. Now from here on the water, till such time as it reaches the disport, how are we going to track this? So we have created a system where we connect with the shipper's website, and we capture the data based on every single container that we have, or based on the BLs that we have. So one BL might have more than one containers. So we capture all of that data and bring it back, aggregate it into the S4 or ECC, and showcase a dashboard which will show you that the container right now is in this place, and it is going to reach the disport in say 20 days from then. And also compare, is it going as per time or is it getting delayed? So you have a complete hold on where the container is, how much time it is going to take, and whether it is going to be in time or not. This also gets the other side ready, the disport side ready to handle that container, unload it, and do whatever next steps that needs to be done. Now there is, to add to this complication, there are certain transshipments that are done usually. Now in these transshipments, normal experience is that if you have, let's say, loaded 5 containers in the ship, there is a chance that one of the containers will get left out and the remaining will get shipped in. So if that happens, you will immediately get an alert to say that the transshipment happened at port A, but out of your 5 containers, only 4 have been loaded. 1 is left out. You can immediately then connect with the shipping line and ask them to, rectify that situation. If there is chance to put it on the same ship, then they do that. Else they put that container, left out container in a different ship, and you get to start tracking all of that as well. So now, what are the advantages that we are doing? So we are not using any IoT, which would make it expensive because it is transcontinental and it is also on water. So we are just using the data or the documents that are created and creating a complete map of figuring out where the container is and how it is moving, which means that you have reduced the manual effort, time consumption, you have improved the accuracy, because since there is no manual intervention, the associated errors that come with it have all gone away. And all of this is, again, like we have been discussing throughout this discussion, that this is all digital. There is no manual intervention required in any of these. On top of this application, we can always build an ML algorithm, which will tell you 2-3 things. One is that when you work with a shipper A, there is always this problem that keeps coming up. So if he's telling you that he'll deliver this in 20 days, it is actually going to take 25 days based on the experience. So would you want to plan according to this new insight that you have? Or it would say that, this shipper B is pretty efficient, and it is hardly any times that he's missed the container while transshipment, or he has not delivered on time, or he has not kept up with the promises. So then he recommends that you start going with this shipper more often. So these things, the evaluation of the shipper, knowing exactly when the material is going to reach, digitizing all these documents brings their own associated benefits with it. I will then go back to some of the other handling. So there are companies which handle fuel or chemical or any other kind of liquid. We have also discussed this with the palm oil company. So it is feasible for any kind of liquid, viscous or less viscous. So what we want to do is, and I'll take the example of petrol or diesel coming in, fuel coming in, and how do we handle it. So normally what happens is, when you order fuel, there will be a purchase order you have to raise. Um, the supplier would tell you that I'm sending a 12 kl truck for your this thing, and he will tell you the numbers, etc., and he will bill you for this 12 kl of petrol that is coming in. Now it is our duty to analyze how much has come in and whether we should accept the GR or not, and is there a pilferage that has happened between him shipping it and him sending it on the road and our receiving it. So I will be talking about all of this and how we have digitized this again completely without any manual intervention. So let us assume that this is a truck which has come in with fuel. There is a laser probe that we have. This laser probe is put on the mouth of the container, and it will notice how much volume is available. This volume is a derived value. It senses the depth and therefore calculates how much volume of liquid would be in this truck. So once this has been done, it stores this as a value in a local database, or it could be cloud as well, right? Then we have either an underground or an overground fuel tank where we need to store this fuel that has come in. So first up, we will measure
Vipin, I think we've lost your sound completely. Vipin? Is everyone else able to hear what Vipin is saying? Because I seem to have lost his voice.
We can't hear.
Yeah.
No, Mukesh, I think it's the same thing. Maybe his video
Okay.
also seems to be stuck.
Yeah.
We'll call him on his mobile one second.
So I just spoke to Vipin, and he said that he somehow got kicked out of the meeting. He's just dialing in again. Yeah, Mukesh, we will. I can share the recording of the session as well, and if you need the slides, I can share the slides as well.
Okay. Can you hear me, Mukesh?
No, yeah, now we can hear you, Vipin.
I'm so sorry, I got just kicked out of the meeting. Sorry. You will have to, Mukesh, enable me to share the screen again.
Yeah, I'll do that. Just 1 second. So you should be able to share your screen now.
Okay. So let me know if you can see the screen.
It's just waiting for it to show up.
Okay.
No, it's not showing up, so you'll have to share again.
Okay.
Do you want me to share it and you can continue to present?
Yeah, maybe that would be a good idea. Yeah.
Okay, so let me just open up the presentation. Let me know if you're able to see my screen.
Yes. We can see the screen. If you
Okay,
can
so
go into
let me just go back to the slide.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1 second. So let me just go to that specific
Yeah.
slide.
Yeah. This is the one.
Yeah.
So there is
So
animation.
just let me know when you want me to move.
Yeah. So can you click one?
Yeah, I've done.
Okay. So so now no, just one at a time, please.
Oh, okay. So I thought you have covered till here. So
yeah. Okay. I don't know whether what people heard. So okay.
no problem.
Okay,
So let me.
Thanks. Let me start from here. Don't worry. So so what we were saying was that the material, the fuel that has come in, we use a laser sensor and find out how much material has come in, and this is then utilized for making an entry into the local database or a cloud database. Then next, please. So then we have to empty this fuel truck into either an underground or an overground fuel tank. But before we empty this, we need to actually know how much fuel is already available in it. So next, please. We do record the levels of this underground tank and then put it into the same database where we have put in the incoming fuels detail. Next, please. One more, please. Now that we have the levels, now that we have the levels of the truck, we know how much material has come in, and if we have what was declared, let's say 12K in this example, and if we sense that the 12K material has come in, we will use a mobile application to give a GRN acceptance, and we will start emptying the truck into this underground tank. Go on, please. Next, please. All of this data is getting recorded directly into the ECC or S4HANA, whatever the case might be. Once we have emptied the entire truck, then next please. So then we do the GRN. Then we do the GRN. We have accepted the GRN using the mobile application. Now we need to, let us say, track where are we using this fuel, right? And in a normal condition, you will be using the fuel either to, use it for cars, which is transporting of human beings, or for trucks where you are transporting the material, or for your gensets, right? So all of these gensets, trucks, and cars have a unique identifier in terms of the RFID that they carry from the manufacturer, or alternatively, we can always give them a QR code identification, which uniquely identifies all of these vehicles or the generators. So when we are dispensing this fuel to them, we will, next please, we will note down which car, because we are scanning the QR code or RFID, we will know which vehicle or which genset has been dispensed with what kind of fuel. And again, without any manual intervention, this is going to get, next please, this is going to get recorded in the system. And so we have on the one side what material came in against which PO, and on the other side, to balance it, we have the fuel that has been dispensed to various users, truck, cars, or generator sets. So again, you have a completely digitized liquid chemical fuel or palm oil or any such kind of liquid handling system. Again, no touch, no paper, but you have every single record. Now, from whatever we have discussed so far, one thing is in common. One, this is digital. Two, the data is coming in real time. There is no gap between the actual scenario happening and you capturing the data into the system. And therefore, in all of these places, in all of these use cases, you have a visibility of the inventory, you have the visibility of the consumption, you have the visibility of the incoming material, you have the visibility of from the vendor's perspective, how much material is still to come in, So all of that is available real time. And this is where I tie it back to the COVID situation, where you need to have real-time visibility of data, and you should be able to execute things from remote. So with this real-time visibility, a lot of analytics happen, and therefore a lot of insights come in. With these insights, you can make your process more efficient, effective, cost reduced, all of that, and also take correct decisions based on the certain data rather than the gut feel. And this is not to say that the gut feels are wrong. If you ask any entrepreneur, he would say, I would rather believe my gut feel and augment it with the data that you're giving. But data is a key factor that needs to be considered in all of these decision making. So you have that data in real time, and therefore the decision making becomes more meaningful, more accurate, and more appropriate. So this was the digital part of it. You'll have to go forward to the guided buying piece. Yeah, here. So Mr. Anindya had requested on a quick this thing on guided buying. So while I'm not going to take this guided buying completely, I'm just going to give you an overview on what it is and why it was built in. But we can, over a period of time, whenever is appropriate, we can take a complete session on guided buying and other activities that we, other topics on Ariba, if and when required. So that I will leave Mukesh to sort of plan. So why was this? Why was this guided buying started? This actually started in 2015 or early 2016. Amazons of the world were just entering India at that point in time. E-commerce was not really new, but it had not picked up to the extent that it is today. And people wanted the same experience that they were getting on an Amazon or a Flipkart, and wanted to be able to get that experience and do it, buy those things themselves. But in a corporate world, there are always certain rules and regulations that you need to follow. So one challenge was, how do you decentralize this so that the user can himself make a judgment and decision on what he wants to buy. And when let's say Vipin Gandhi decides to buy certain things, who is going to do the vendor onboarding? Who's going to create that number for him? It is a way too complex a thing, for Vipin to do, in addition to what his normal KPIs or duties are. And this is where the guided buying thing came into being. Next, please. So what was the goal of the guided buying? We needed to keep it simple, because people who are not used to buying or not used to procurement, not used to the rigors and the compliances of procurement, are going to be buying. It had to be smart, because it should be guiding the buyer on what is the right thing to do. And it should give them the same experience as an Amazon or a Flipkart would give them. And therefore you have a much better engagement between the procurement team and the buyer and the people who are requisitioning these materials. So what this tool, the guided buying tool, tries to do is it decentralizes the power of procurement, which means that now if I need to buy a laptop, I can do it using guided buying, and the procurement team can actually handle the bigger chunks and therefore scale up, do more meaningful work, rather than do the transaction for one single laptop and plan it according to the requirements of Vipin, and do all of that work for just one laptop. Second is guided buying comes up with contextual collaboration. So when I'm trying to buy a laptop, it will tell me what are the options available, right? And it will tell me what would be the right thing for me to do, so that I get the best possible laptop, but also still stay within the limits or within the boundary walls that the organization has created, within the limits with which I can buy. It would give me the intelligence to help me select the right thing. And it will also be a social interaction in terms of the fact that I could touch base with an expert from the IT team to figure out whether what I'm doing, the decision I'm taking on a laptop, is correct or I need to change it, or with a procurement expert to say that, hello, this is the challenge that I'm facing in buying. How can you help me? So all in all, this is Amazon built into the Ariba procurement process, and therefore you can now use the same experience, decentralize the thing, and I can buy based on my options, but still be within the limits of the corporate rules. Mukesh, next please. So this solution, the Ariba guided buying, is a single place where you can buy everything, goods or services, right? Which is the same as what most of the time Amazons or the Flipkarts of the world do. This will, like I said, give you the guidance to pick up the right material from the right vendor and stay within the policies that you have. For the managers or the budget holders whose budget we are utilizing, it has a control tower which sort of controls how much budget has been utilized by whom, and whether we are within the budget or we are exceeding the budget. There is contextual collaboration, like I said, between the users, procurement experts, and suppliers. You can also rate the performance of the supplier, and therefore onboard or offboard certain suppliers. We can also go to the extent of saying that you go out on Amazon, use guided buying to get on Amazon and buy a certain thing if you don't see it within your within the catalogs that have been displayed. I will give you another example of what we did with a extended version of guided buying, which is catalog creation and purchase through catalogs. So at Welspun, we used to do about 500 to 700 POs per day in the textile industry, for the textile industry, and this was all being done manually. Obviously, you either need a substantial team or you will get delayed on the procurement that you need to do. When we implemented Ariba, all of these 500, 700 POs got converted into a catalog. When we did the catalog, what was it about? So the catalog was same as the guided buying, which automatically picked up based on certain rules, which supplier should be given this order, how much quantity needs to be pushed in. The PO would automatically get generated and then sent to the vendor for supply. Now you compare this to the guided buying. So you have a catalog visible to you, laptop. So 3 types of laptops are available from Apple, HP, and say whatever, Lenovo, etc. So you have to buy within these. Same thing with the catalog. There is already a price that is already fixed, and you don't need to sort of negotiate or find out whether this is the right price or not. Catalog, same thing happens where the price is fixed. You just don't need to bother about the negotiations part, etc. The guided buying issues a PO when you have selected certain things and the approval process has happened. The catalog also does the same thing if the approval has happened, which is actually in Welspun's case, we had baked in that that approval process, so there was no more approvals required, and it then issues the PO to the vendor automatically through digital channels, through mails. Same thing is what guided buying does. So Mukesh, can you go next, please? So this is what a guided buying screen looks like. Much like the Amazon experience that you would have. You want to buy a laptop, you go to IT Telecom, and then you will get a list of laptops that are available. Click on one, select, and that's the end of it. So this was a high-level view on guided buying. Like I said, we can do a full session on this thing whenever Mukesh and Priya sort of decides on that, or you're based on everybody's convenience. So that is all from my side. Open for questions now.
Vipin, one thing I wanted to ask for this, you showed us the chatbot, yeah?
Yeah.
How do you build the segregation of duty in that, basically?
So,
or you give access to that? I mean, how does it build? Because I can make a PR, I can make a POA, I can make a GRN or not, I don't know. No.
So see, the rules that you have already formulated in your system, ECC system, are going to be followed here. So let's say Vipin Gandhi has no authority to create a PR. but he is still trying to create a PR. It'll get blocked because the system does not recognize Vipin Gandhi as a originator of PR.
So it means that SSO is also built up somewhere like this, because I am chatting from my ID and then it goes to check my SAP ID, yeah, and all that kind of stuff. Is that correct?
No, so it actually signs on with the SSO.
Okay, yeah.
So there is no second ID that is there. It signs on with the SSO.
Okay, that's good, yeah. Secure.
The other benefit you get out of this thing is that if you do some other means, there are always digital licenses that come into play. But when you do it with SAP's chatbot, you don't need to bother about that. So that is a cost saving that happens.
Yeah.
Mr. Vipin?
Yes.
Actually, after receiving the material while creating GRN, so we have to paste every barcode on each and every item or what?
So see, this is the process that we have formulated. Now you might say that, I don't want the details of the last material that I have. I don't want to identify every single material. So I will put it on a pallet which contains, let's say, 500 of those pieces or 100 of those pieces. That is also possible. You might say that while I want to identify it at a carton level, this carton has 50 pieces of the material. We can do that. And obviously we can do it at the individual level as well. So it is your choice depending on your business and your requirements. We can figure out what is the stage at which you put the QR code or a barcode.
Whatever the issue, normally we get the issue pass reservation slip from the user, because we can see that location, where the location is there in the warehouse. So how can we take without paperless?
You mean the location meaning? Sorry, I didn't quite get the question. So location at the warehouse?
Yeah, actually user is giving issue pass reservation slip, on paper. So in paper there is a mention material code, quantity, location, everything. If he is not giving reservation slip paper, then how will identify? Each and every time we have to go open that system.
No. So what we had done was we had digitized that issue pass as well. So there was still no paper, but we were getting all the details that that were required. Who's requisitioning, what quantity, against what PO, all of those things would be available to us. There was a small application that we created two ways. One is you could use it through the browser or your SAP screen, or a mobile application also was available. So depending on where you are, how you want to do it, you raise that requisition. It goes to the desk, and then EWM was also implemented. So it feeds into that and creates a packing list or a pickup list.
We have a S4 HANA and we have Ferrari app. Okay, so can we do transactions on a Ferrari app while roaming in the plant or anywhere in the location?
Yes.
Simply post.
Yes, those transactions will happen. See, requisition slip has come in. Somebody has picked up, and at that time when he's scanning the QR code to create a dispatch order, the outbound order, all those transactions will get created either in the ECC or S4. Since you are on S4, it is easier to do it. On ECC also it can be done, but these are all digitally internally connected with the core system. So all transactions that we are talking about will be done automatically in the backend.
Is there any system for a physical count? Like there are 500 number of items. Is there any technology to count that items?
Okay, so two ways to look at it. One is, let us assume that I have to ship certain material, 500 pieces of certain things I have to ship, right? So and these 500, to make it a little more complex, I'll say that there are 10 different things total together. 500 is what I have to pick up. So this scanner gun that we use will have a list of this. So product A, 100 pieces, product 2, 100 pieces, third one, let's say 50 pieces. So as you keep clicking on the boxes and keep picking up the material, it will start reducing the quantity. So it will say against 100, you already picked up 70, 30 more to go, right? So there is a count that is happening. That is one. So that is for the outbound piece. At the inbound piece, the reverse happens. So when you are clicking on the handling unit that is coming in, or every single, let us assume right now, that every single product that is there is QR code enabled, or there is a QR code pasted on it, and you keep scanning on it, you will get the count on the screen. Two is, you know that a pallet, when you scan a pallet barcode, you will also get to know that this pallet contains 500 pieces. So those 500 pieces can be counted in one single go.
Okay. So who has to paste it this QR code? A supplier, vendor?
So if it is a incoming material, yes, the vendor has to do it. So it can log into your Ariba application and get the printout of the barcodes. If you are dispatching the material, then you can again log in into the system S4, or we can create another system for you, and these will be get printed. So normally what happens is, what we have done earlier is that as the packing is happening, right? So there are box packing that is happening. So as the box is getting packed, it will when it is on that packing area, where, you know, and in this case it was automatic packing. So carton was filled up by a person, and then it was slided on the rollers so that it gets taped up and automatically taped up and scanned. So there was an automatic barcode label applicator, or in other cases you can just put one person to just peel off the QR code and paste it as the barcode as the cartons come out.
Okay.
There were some malpractices also that we controlled using this, but we can talk about it offline on a one-to-one.
Is there any double job? It's not double job, no? Like we have to scan it, then again there all data is migrated to SAP automatically?
Correct. So there will be no need for you to key in or type in any data to SAP. It will know as soon as you scan the barcode, it will know that something has happened. Either material has come in or gone out, or it was WIP, has become finished goods, etc. Whatever the transaction is, it goes directly into the S4 system. Now, I mean, I didn't want to bring it up.
Sir, can you give me the example of any manufacturing industry where the software has been stored and it's been online now?
Welspun.
Yeah.
Welspun, we've done this. I have a patent for this entire piece. Yeah. So I have a patent for track and trace, which is the end-to-end raw material to finished goods tracking. A part of that patent is about how to track the material within this thing and do the automated entries. Again, I have a video. Probably we don't have the time right now, but I can share it with you, the link with you, and you can see it, or maybe one-to-one we can discuss that.
Okay. No, but what I heard that invoices required originally, not required by mail. I heard that our accounts department, they need original invoice. And in that case, what do you do?
So what is happening is there are two things that are happening. One is the government wants an original invoice whenever an audit comes in. Okay, and I'll not name some of the big organizations here in Mumbai, but what they have done is this: they do the processing using a PDF copy, right? So that it is digitized. They get the physical copy and they just keep it there. Maybe at the most paste a QR code on it so that they know which transaction it belongs to. So if they scan that QR code on the physical copy, they will directly be taken to the screen on which they can see this transaction. Otherwise, it is just meant to be filed away so that when the audit comes in, they can show it to them and they can tally whatever is required. So in fact, one of the requirements from one of our customers was to link this physical invoice with the PDF invoice, the QR code that I'm talking about. So when you scan that QR code, you will go to that transaction directly.
Basically, हाथी के दांत दिखाने के अलग, खाने के अलग, right?
Because the Indian government does not allow you. So again, this is again a matter of some bit of research. I did a lot of research on this, and what I found was the rules say that you don't need to keep a physical copy in most of the cases. As per the audit rules, etc., you don't need to keep a copy. But our practice is that we need that copy, and therefore, my legal team discussed it with the audit authorities, the auditor, external auditor, etc. But they said, why do you want to get into a situation where there is somebody questioning you? Why can't you just keep a physical copy ready for the audit? and do whatever you want to do on a digital copy.
Sir, if you want to give demo on our factory, will you phone somebody?
Yeah. Sure. We can do that. So I can create a POC for you in your specific environment, and we can do that. Yeah.
So this you have a licensing agreement with the HANA?
I am from SAP, so everything you buy is going to be from SAP.
Any other questions for Vipin? Okay. So Priya, would you like to close it out in that case? We still have about 8-10 minutes to go. So if anyone has any questions, you can ask them now. So then maybe it's also a good time to ask a question on my end. So if we are to prepare for the next 3 months topics, what topics do you think from a procurement perspective that you would like to listen from us? So maybe if you want to answer them, unmute yourself and answer that, or if you want to put it on the chat, you can put it on the chat. One of the topics that we are considering is doing a deep dive in guided buying. Another topic that we are considering is integration as a topic. Priya, if you can just explain that a little bit as well in terms of the integration topic that we are thinking of.
Mr. Mukesh.
Yeah.
My view is that my suggestion is that can we have a program to reduce the cost? When we go for the comparison, and is there any so vendor base, how to access the vendor base, which I don't have a link, how to
okay, I get it. So how do you increase your overall vendor access to new vendors so that you can actually reduce cost?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there are new type of matrices evolving nowadays. Aggregators. There are MRO aggregators are there. Okay. So how is that we are linking, and is there any hope, any option to go for aggregators?
Okay. Priya, do you think we have someone who can actually that you know of who can deliver on topics on these topics?
We need to check it out, Mukesh. Probably I need to check and get back on this.
Yeah, so maybe these are topics that you can think of to plan for the next 2-3 months that we want to do.
Yeah, and also I see that from Amit, he has put a note in the chat saying that he wants to know about the different Ariba modules and the benefits. Yeah, and another one is the third-party interface is linked to module.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, we'll check this, and the topic on the integration which Mukesh was mentioning is like we were like planning to have one session on Ariba S4 or ECC integration. So that will be an overview session, and probably we are planning that as the next session. Probably we'll get back to you with the agenda and the other details shortly. Yeah. And regarding the supplier topic, is that Mukesh who spoke before? Mukesh Goel? Yeah, Mukesh, probably you can let me know a little bit more details about one or two liners so that I can share it with our topic, the speakers, and then I can arrange accordingly. Yeah, is that okay?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, thank you, Mukesh. So, are there any questions for Vipin on this particular topic? Are all we good?
I think we're good, Priya. I think you should close it out.
Okay then. So I would like to extend my thanks and also like a special thanks to Vipin for helping us drive this session. And thank you everyone for being part of this session, and we'll be sharing this recording with you shortly. And please feel free to propose any of the topics that would benefit for everyone so that we can plan the further upcoming sessions accordingly. Yeah. Thank you so much and have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Yeah. Priya, just one more thing. Can you share the deck also with the recording?
I have the deck, so I will share, no problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I want to propagate it in my organization, it will be good to give the deck, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Sure, Amit.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have any additional questions apart from this session and anything you need in addition, you can get back to me or Mukesh and we'll facilitate accordingly. Yeah.
Both of us are on the WhatsApp group as well, in case you want to drop a message on that.
Okay. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
evening. Bye bye.
Good evening.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Vipin. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.